Hey everyone, it's Larry Benet, Chief Connector and co-founder of Saying, and I am excited today to bring together another amazing interview, another thought leader who I really want to share a few things. He is the author of the book Klout Matters. You can see him in over 43 publications in the business chronicles around the United States. He was the chief blogger for both Skype and the major AT&T blog for a long period of time, and that's my good friend Terry Brock. And Terry, how are you doing today? And I'm glad you could be here. I want to really kind of address some of the issues of both Klout and then social media, but thanks for being here.
You bet, Larry. It's great to be with you.
All right, so let's talk to me a little bit about why you wrote this book on Klout, and for that matter, why it matters.
Well, it does matter, and I'm kind of the skeptical, jaded journalist. You know, they train us in journalism school to kind of sit there with our arms crossed going, yeah, right, And I'd heard about Klout, and I'm going, it's just a bunch of hooey. Well, actually, we use some more colorful military expressions, but we'll say a bunch of hooey. And I thought, it doesn't matter. And then my partner and co-author of the book, Gina Carr, sent a note to some folks at McGraw-Hill and said, hey, you ought to think about a book on Klout. And they said, why, yes, we're thinking about that. Please send us a proposal. We want that. And I thought, well, okay, so I wrote up the proposal. Gina and I worked on it. We sent it to them. They said, great, we'll do it and we'll give you some money. And I thought, well, that is pretty nice. It's not supposed to work that way. Usually you write the book and then take it to 40 billion publishers, hoping someone will say so. But I really got into Klout as I studied it because I see that it was a way to solve one of the major problems in social media. And that is people do a lot of things in social media, but they wonder, am I doing the right thing? How many posts should I put out here? How many tweets should I have? Should I be on this platform? Should I be on that one? And Klout gives you an objective, quantifiable way to find out how you're doing. On a 0 to 100 scale, they rate you every day. And if you have a Twitter account, you by default have a Klout account also. And they give you a measure of who's more influential. So it's not a matter of, well, I think so-and-so is more influential. No, it's so-and-so. Well, my gut tells me, well, with all due respect to our guts, they can sometimes be wrong. And doing it with big data, crunching numbers, and looking at it more objectively makes a lot more sense. So that's kind of how we got into it. I see it as a good way to overall look at what you're doing in social media and to make sure you're doing it right.
So what would be some just simple best practices so people can obviously have more influence online?
One of the most important things is really it's basic business. It's the same principle that worked 5,000 years ago in the Middle East bazaars, where people would get to know each other. It's all built on, and you'll like this, Larry, relationships, connecting with people. That's what you talk about and what you've done so well, and that's what the book is about. Matter of fact, you hear a shameless plug here. Here's the book here, The Klout Matters. And really what it's about in one word is engagement. Engaging with people, finding out what they're doing. You see, the world has changed. In the past, say in the 70s, 80s, and even before that, it was a matter of blasting your message out to people. You'd buy time on the radio, on the newspaper, on TV, and you'd blast a message out, hoping and praying that maybe somebody out there would listen to what you're saying and go buy your stuff. And it was the old spray and pray method. We'll try that and see what it's like. Today, with social media, it's flipped upside down. And now what you want to do is you want to start by listening to people. I love the way that our friend Chris Brogan says you need to grow bigger ears. Grow bigger ears, listen better to what people are talking about, where they're having pain, and then you come back and meet that and help them by saying, well, here's a reference that you might like, or here's something, or hey, I just wrote a blog that addresses this and it addresses that, or I did a video interview with so-and-so and put it together. And so it's really about connecting with people, and you do that in social media by helping them. I love the way Jay Baer says it, that helping is the new selling. And that's really the way to do it. You help people, and Klout scores will then quantitatively come back and say, hey, you're doing a lot better on that because we're seeing that people are responding to you. It's not a matter of how much you send out. You can send out 100 billion tweets a day, and I would not recommend that, but you could, but that wouldn't affect your Klout score. What will affect your Klout score is the number of people who respond to you, who retweet you, who mention you on Facebook, those that give you likes, those that will comment, that, and not just how many people do it, but who does it. If you could get Barack Obama, Ellen DeGeneres, and Bill Gates, all who have very high Klout scores, to correspond with you on a daily basis, your Klout score would go up very high. because it would mean, hey, you're dealing with these influential people. And so you want to help people, you want to engage with people on a regular basis. And then what Klout does is they crunch massive amounts of numbers, over 12 billion data points every day, crunching these to find out who's responding to who, how often, what's the quality of it. And they use a lot of big data number crunching just to let you know, okay, here's how you're doing today. It's a good way to measure how effective you are in your social media marketing.
Okay. I'm just curious. You mentioned Bill Gates and Ellen DeGeneres and Obama. You said they have high Klout scores. What's considered a good Klout score? What's considered a high Klout score?
When we went to Klout, as a journalist also, I went out to Klout. Gina and I hopped on a plane, went out to San Francisco from Orlando, where we are, and we sat down and we talked with them. And they were wonderfully gracious and helpful. And we talked to a lot of their top executives, including Joe Fernandez, their co-founder and CEO.
He's phenomenal. If anyone hasn't, man, that story about his company and what he's done to get it there is really fascinating, especially from an entrepreneurial
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, he's done it right. And not only done it right from a business point of view, Larry, but as a human being. Just a decent, wonderful guy who's who he is. He is who he is. Wonderful guy. He's gracious. He's outgoing, not pretentious or so, and unlike some other people that might be that way. But he is just a really good guy. And so I find that what we do is we connect with people, we get to know them, and then by regularly putting out engaging content, then you're able to increase your score. And someone like say a Barack Obama or Ellen DeGeneres, people like that who are movie stars, or a Bill Gates, you would expect their Klout scores to be high, and they're going to be that way. But a good Klout score is going to, when we talked to them, they said a good Klout score was something that would be 40 or above. Okay. Now, it's another rule. American Airlines recently had, or last year they had a contest. If your Klout score was 55 or higher, you were given a free day in their Admirals Club. No cost to you at all, and you didn't even have to fly American Airlines. Just show us your Klout score, and by the way, it's public. They can check it. We can all check each other's Klout score and find out what it is, and they let you stay there. There are some conferences that I remember Mark Fidelman, a friend of ours and a person who writes for Forbes magazine, was going to offer a conference for only those who have a Klout score of 70 or above. Okay. And you think about that, if you're a vendor, you want to sell, you want to be with influential people, and you know that everyone at this conference has a Klout score of X, whatever the number would be you choose, or above, you know you're going to have some very influential people there, and everyone has been vetted. Everyone has been checked to make sure you meet that criteria.
So I have a question. So a few weeks ago, I got an email from a friend of mine, Mark Thompson, who's a very well-known angel investor, successful speaker, best-selling author. He's like, hey, how does this Klout thing work? He goes, you have a very high Klout score. And to be honest with you, I don't really understand it myself. I didn't even know what my score was until he actually told me, or maybe you told me. I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. But you and Gina spent a little time with him, gave him some advice, and literally his Klout score shot up quite a bit in a very short period of time. What were some of those key leverage things that either you shared with him that others could do to gain a little bit more influence, perhaps, or more leverage in this arena of Klout?
Yeah, and first let me say thank you very much, because he's a wonderful guy, Mark Thompson. He's probably watching this now, so hello there, Mark. And he's a great guy. And what we did is we talked to him and found out what he was doing. He was doing a lot of the things right, but Klout didn't know about it. And so what he needed to do is, like people do, is go to Klout.com. That's Klout with a K, Klout.com. Go to that website, and you'll go into your preferences. You'll see how to do it. There's menus and things. Click on that, and then you'll want to connect your Twitter account, your Facebook account, if you have Instagram or Foursquare, whatever is available that you use, make sure you plug all of those in. That way, Klout starts looking at what you're doing. You might be doing a lot of things right, but if it hasn't been connected, then it won't understand that. So do that. And then also, Mark has done very well. As you know, very famous person, he has a Wikipedia page. And by connecting that Wikipedia page, we showed him how to do that, then that really helped boost his Klout score. And I think he had, I don't remember the exact number, I think it was something like a 30-point jump there he had when he went through and we showed him how to do it. We've done this many times with others, where we sit down, we show them what to do, and it's magical.
He's someone that in the real world, forgetting just online, is very influential, knows Richard Branson personally, is an advisor to Tony Robbins and very other influential people. So it's interesting to see, what does Klout look for? And because, like you said, maybe some of the things weren't interconnected. Let me ask you one other thing. On Wikipedia, can anyone get a Wikipedia page, or how does that work?
It's tricky. It's real tricky. I do not have a Wikipedia page. You need to be what they call notable. And how do they define notable? It's not like you were in the New York Times or the Los Angeles Times or on TV, on CBS Morning News or something, but it's or you're talking about a book, but it's about people are focusing on you. If there was a story about you, not just your book or you happen to be mentioned there, it's something that you have done that's really notable. And so you look at things that are on Wikipedia and we look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, that's it makes sense as to why it's there. Otherwise, everyone in the world that's a thought leader, that's an author, a coach, a speaker would say, hey, put me on there. I'm wonderful. I'm notable. So they're a little bit stringent on the rules, as they should be. Kind of like if you get a real PhD, you got to work for it. I tell my friends, really all you need is $20 and you can get it on the internet. And then you don't have to do all that work. It's not quite legitimate though. To get a real one, if you want to say you're a PhD from Stanford, it's going to take a lot of time, money, and effort in order to get that.
Who are a couple of either corporate examples or, for that matter, an entrepreneur that really has good engagement, and what are they doing specifically? Like I read a lot of, I see Richard Branson's posts on Facebook. I mean, personally, he's an iconic entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like I know The Rock, for example, Dwayne Johnson, he gets tremendous, like when he does a Facebook post, a lot of, comments, a lot of shares. So who are some people that you would recommend to follow, maybe on the business side, that people could look at and say, they're getting some good engagement, I could model what they're doing?
Yeah, I think on the personal side, people that are real thought leaders, like Chris Brogan, I mentioned, is well known in social media, has a high Klout score. I don't know exactly what it is, somewhere in the 80s. Okay. Joel Comm, our buddy who wrote Twitter Power years ago and is still very, very active and helping a lot of people. Joel just continues to do a great job, does very well what he does, following people like that. And I would say whatever industry you're in. For instance, you might be, if you're a cardiologist, just pick an example. If you're a cardiologist, Klout score is not going to be as important in some areas, but within the community, it will be. Because if you have 5 cardiologists and one is really higher than the others in their Klout score, whatever that might be, that's going to indicate that that particular cardiologist, she might be much more influential than others. Right. And so we need to look at within the industry what it is. But think of people in your industry, people you admire, and you can get them. Just go and get their Twitter handle and then do a search on that within Klout, and then you can start following what they do. Definitely follow them using a tool like Hootsuite that we talk about in our book. We talk about several tools that are available. Hootsuite's great to be able to say, I want to know everything that Larry Benet says. Anything that mentions Larry Benet, I want to know about it. You can put it in there and track it. Or anything that might mention your company. Companies are using it also in a big way. And they are using this because they want to track who is influential. As an example, one of the people in our mastermind group is J.B. Glossinger. J.B. has one of the top, has been rated the top podcast in the world on personal development called Morning Coach. And he is in our mastermind group. We were talking about Klout. He didn't know much about it, but we talked to him. And then a couple weeks later, he and his wife were down in Bogota, Colombia. They go back and forth between Fort Lauderdale, Bogota, and they needed to change their trip. They had to stay a couple extra days, like we often have to do. They called the airline, and the airline said, yes, we can do that, and that'll cost you $800 to do that. I thought, whoa, $800 is a lot of money here. And then JB remembered the conversation we had, that Gina and I had with him, and about Klout and about prestige, and he said, well, wait a minute, here's who I am, and here's my Klout score. Don't take my word for it. You go look it up, and call me back. And they said, okay. They hung up, called him back within 30 minutes and said, Mr. Glossinger, we're so glad you're flying with us. Thank you very much. For you, we're waiving that $800 fee, and we're moving you and your wife to the front of the plane. Thank you very much for flying with us. And so that's an example of an airline that knows they better pay attention to people. And they know that someone like JB could say, I had a wonderful experience, or I had a bad experience with this company, this restaurant, this airline, whatever. And they want to make sure that they really make influencers happy. The Palms Hotel over in Las Vegas, they often have checked, when you check into the hotel, they're checking your Klout score.
Wow.
And if you have a high Klout score and they've got it available, they're going to upgrade you to a suite. because
Right.
they want you going, wow, everybody, hey, the Palms is a great place. They upgraded me. Be sure and stay here when you come to Vegas. So
Right.
really, it's a great way to market. It's a great way to make sure you're spending money properly as a vendor and following those key people that are important. Identify them, put them into your Hootsuite feed, and then watch what they're doing and model their behavior that is right.
Last thoughts. What are 2 or 3 tools that either you use to be more effective, more efficient? I know you mentioned Hootsuite. What are some other tools that other people can use that can make their life just a little bit easier, so they can enjoy things and get more, output out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools. As a matter of fact, in the book, we talk about a lot of the things of podcasts and blogs to listen to and things to use to really help your life. But let me give you 2 right now. One is called Buffer App. If you go to bufferapp.com, it's great for programming your tweets, programming your posts to go out on LinkedIn, on Twitter, Facebook, etc. I'd recommend it particularly for Twitter and LinkedIn, because that way what you can do is I'll give you an example. I'm right here in the home. Here, I've got my iPad, and I'll read lots of magazines, blogs, and things here. I use Feedly, and Feedly gives me the ability to see it, and if I like it, I can then send it over to Buffer App. And what it does is it doesn't send like 40 billion things out all within 5 minutes, but it spaces them out as I have asked it to space them. So I might say, well, I want it at 5 minutes after 7 in the morning, and then 5 minutes after 8, and then 10 minutes after 9, and then 11:20 or whatever. You put that in there based on what your market wants. And by just me reading really good content, really good material, and I can tap it and I can say, hey, this is really good on how you can succeed more as an entrepreneur, or here's some good health habits, and I fill that up, and I'm constantly sending out those kinds of tweets, those kinds of items on LinkedIn using Buffer App and using Feedly. They give me the ability to create a following, and it's made me smile when people would respond on Twitter and on Facebook. They go, wow, what Terry Brock sends out, it's always really good. Whatever he puts out, I want to see it. And I realized that's social media. It's social media, not selling media, not spam media. It's social, connecting with people and giving them real value that's not even my stuff, just me as another guy going, hey, here's a great article that's in the Forbes magazine or Huffington Post or Wall Street Journal or whatever. It's really good about da-da-da-da. Read this. And that's a really good tool. And let me give you another tool that could be really handy. Real simple, very inexpensive, Google Docs, specifically the spreadsheet. Because you see, here's what happens. With social media, there's so many things you need to do. You need to be on Twitter, then you need to send this post out, then you need to be here, then you need to produce your video, then you need to do this, and then we get overwhelmed with it. Well, Gina Carr, my co-author, is an engineer. She got her engineering degree from Georgia Tech, and she knows about putting systems together. Get Google Docs and the spreadsheet particularly, and make a list of the things that work for you. We've got clients that we put together and we give them a checklist, if you will. And then every day they can see we have to do this. And every Monday we need to do this. Every Wednesday we've got to do this. Really refined and tightly tuned into their needs so that their Klout score goes up. But even more importantly, their bottom line goes up and they generate more business that way.
Very, very cool. Hey, quick question before we go. There's LinkedIn. There's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's all these different social networks. There's YouTube. So when you're doing a post, what's your recommended, I know you said you could use Hootsuite. Are you sending the same information to your Facebook, to your Twitter, to all your different social networks, to your Google Plus platform, or do you focus, or is your advice to other folks is pick 1 or 2 channels, or I'm just curious what's your advice there, just because there's only so much time in a day and everyone's busy.
Yeah, exactly. We're busy. We're swamped. It's not like we're saying, oh, gee, I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs. I don't know what to do. And Larry, I really appreciate you asking that, because I get a lot of people when I'm speaking different places that are asking that kind of question, saying, what do we do? And what I recommend is that you make sure that you're there on a consistent basis, but you don't send the same message necessarily in all forms. It's kind of like you're in Los Angeles, I'm in Orlando. If you come out with me and we're going to get together and I go, hey, we're going to have a great time. We're going to go swimming. So you bring your swimsuit and you go swimming. There's a certain kind of attire. But also, we're going to attend a convention where there's a black tie dinner. And you really need that black tie. Bring your tux with you and you dress a different way. And then there's other times it's going to be more casual business. So there's 3 styles of clothing you might wear in that. Social media is kind of the same way. You have to be sensitive to the context. You operate differently in Twitter than you do on LinkedIn, and operate completely different than over on Facebook or on YouTube or all the other formats. So you want to become very contextually sensitive to what is appropriate. Don't wear your tux into the swimming pool, and don't wear your swimming suit over to the formal evening attire. You want to be appropriate. And so find out what what that is, and the best way to do it is to listen. Start listening and listen to what others are doing. Follow what they're doing. Study what is being said about it. We go into that in depth in the book of what to do, what not to do. Because if you do something you shouldn't do, think about it. You go into that black tie evening event and you walk in dripping wet with a swimsuit, you're probably going to be asked to leave. You don't want to be there. You don't want to be in the environment where you want to be, dressed inappropriately or acting inappropriately. Understand the protocols that are appropriate, and then send it out. Now, occasionally you might send the same message to Twitter and to LinkedIn, something real short. Here's a great article about how to write better, and you put a link in there, something like that. That's okay now and then, but often there's going to be a different nuance of what you would put on Facebook than you would put on LinkedIn and other networks as well.
Gotcha. What's the best place for people to learn more about you, the book Klout Matters? Where do you recommend they go?
Well, for the book, go over to kloutmatters.com. If you go over there, you'll see it. We got a lot of content there, and you don't have to sign up for it either. You just go in there. You can see some interview. Matter of fact, an interview we did with Joe Fernandez. It was really good on where we are with social media today versus before. And of course, my website, I've got my Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn. All the contact information is at terrybrock.com, and that's Terry, and Brock is spelled the right way, BROCK. So terrybrock.com, and I would love to see you. And if you are watching this and you have a question where I can help you, by all means, just tell me you were on the interview with Larry, and I'd love to help you out and do what I can to make life a little bit easier for you.
Awesome. Terry, I appreciate your time today, and thank you for your insights.
Larry, thank you very much. I'm honored to be with you, and I really appreciate what you're doing, connecting people. You live what you talk about, one-on-one, in private. You're genuine and authentic, and we really appreciate that about you, man.
Well, everyone, thank you for taking the time today out of your busy schedule. I hope you've learned a few things, and may you connect and grow rich.